Hey everyone, Art Burns here, wishing you well today. So I talk a lot about showing up for our lives, right? Showing up to our lives. And what I mean by this in general is to be present with what it is that's happening. And this is not automatic, right? To really be present with what is happening as it's happening, right? Now, most of us, aren't doing this. Again, certainly not automatically, right? A lot of times we might, be doing something. We might be with our kids, or we might be in a meeting at work. We might be driving our cars, and we're doing that thing, right? But at the same time, our minds might be somewhere completely different, right? Like while you're with your kids, you might be thinking about some problem that's going on at work. You might be, kind of emotionally processing an argument you had with your spouse, or any number of things might be going on. You might be thinking about money difficulties, uncertainty about the pandemic. You might be thinking about, starting school. You might be thinking about all the different concerns. And while you're doing this, while your mind is in these other places, you're really not showing up for your life. You're really not there for your life, right? And what that means is that you're not there for those people that you love, especially when it comes to parenting. You're not there for your children, right? And so another aspect of this concept of showing up to our lives, right, is, kind of to take it a little step further, right? To be present is one thing, right? But also to be present in the way that we want to be present, right? In the way that we are intentional to be present, right? And what I mean by that is, are you living up to your authentic values in this present moment, right? Now, of course, this can be any number of areas of your lives, and all areas of your life, to be sure, right? Like, it's very true in parenting. Are you parenting the way that you want to parent, right? Are you parenting from here, from your heart, or are you parenting from, the implicit memories that you have about how you were parented it from your children, and how, which is really how your parents were parented by their parents, and so it's like steps removed, right? Or are you parenting because you're worried about the way that your friends or your siblings are going to judge you for how you're parenting? Or are you parenting because you're worried about what the other your children's friends' parents are going to think about your parenting, right? And so, because when you're doing that, right, when you're parenting from, and again, this can apply to any other area of your life, but when you're parenting from that place of worried about how someone else is going to, sort of perceive your own parenting, well, then you're not really present with it, right? You're not really showing up to it, right? You're now, everything is happening through this sort of filter. And that means that you're not really your authentic self, which means that you might make decisions that do not serve your children the way that you believe that you should serve your children, right? Now, again, this can happen in any area of our lives, right? This is not just parenting. This is not just work. This is not just any specific area of our lives. This is every area of our lives, right? And when we practice mindfulness, right, and this is one of the many, many, many benefits of practicing mindfulness, what we're doing is we're bringing awareness, right? We're bringing awareness to, I should say more specifically, we're bringing non-judging awareness to each moment in our lives, right? Which allows us to show up and to see how we're showing up and to check with ourselves. Am I showing up in the way that I believe I want to show up, right? Am I being compassionate, or am I being unkind? Am I speaking my mind? Am I showing up and expressing myself the way that I want to express myself? Or am I hiding a little bit in the back and like not wanting to express myself and just accepting things that are happening around me without kind of asserting myself, right? Am I parenting in a way that is true to my own values and to my integrity? Right? And ultimately what this means is an increase and a strengthening of our own integrity, right? Because as we bring this awareness to each moment and do so in a way that is, really seeing how we're showing up. Are we aligned with those values that we have, right? Are we aligned with that integrity? Well, that's the same kind of practice that we do in our meditation, right? When we're meditating, right? When we're sitting there in stillness and allowing our body to just be, and we're just sort of letting the thoughts go. But sometimes, of course, we will start to follow a given thought. You know, we'll be sitting there in meditation and everything will be going great. We'll be feeling very present and very, you know, very still of the mind, and just kind of, you know, focusing our attention on our breath, and all the thoughts might be going by. We don't even notice them. And then all of a sudden, boom, you'll think about, do I have rice to cook for tonight's dinner? Did I buy the butter that I need? Do I have enough, you know, whatever it is for tonight in the refrigerator? And now all of a sudden you're thinking about, wow, do I remember buying that? Did I buy it? Did I not buy it? I don't think I bought it. Now I'm going to have to go to the store after I'm done meditating. And now, you know, what am I going to do? I got to cook dinner. I'm going to be late now, and everything's going to get thrown off. Right? That's how our mind works. And so now we're bringing ourselves outside of that presence, right? And so every time we recognize that happening and we bring our mind back, right? When we recognize that, okay, right now I'm not sitting here meditating anymore. Now I'm just thinking about what I'm going to make for dinner and how I'm going to fit it in with my schedule. Stop. Bring the mind back into my breath. Just refocus my attention on my breath. Every time you do that process, you exercise the strength of being able to hold your attention and to hold your focus and to know when your mind has wandered. Every time that happens, that's the practice, right? And it's no different from lifting weights, right? If I take 20 pounds and I do this 20 times every day, then this muscle is going to get bigger and stronger. Right? So if you do that every day, where you realize that your mind has wandered and you bring it back every day, this muscle is going to get bigger and stronger. And there's actually a very specific part of your brain, by the way, not to digress here, but there's a very specific part of your brain called the insula, which is what you're exercising in this time, because your insula is responsible for knowing where your attention is at any given moment, right? So that's physically, there is a kind of almost, it's not really a muscle, but it's like a muscle that's in your brain that you are actually physically working. But anyway, again, sorry to digress there. I get very, you know me, I get very nerdy with the brain science. I love that stuff. But anyway, my point is that as we do that in meditation, right? Every time our mind wanders, we bring it back. It wanders, we bring it back. It wanders, we bring it back. We're building a strength. The same thing is going to happen every time you check in and ask yourself, am I living in my integrity? Am I living in my authentic self right now? Every time you check in with that, you realize that you're not, you make the adjustment, you realize you're not, you make the adjustment, you realize you're not, you make the adjustment. Every time you do that, you strengthen your ability not only to know when you're not living in your integrity, but also the ability to control it, right? And this is the beautiful thing about these practices, right? You're building a skill that is going to allow you to perform in a different way, in a way that serves you on a higher level. So how do we make this correction, right? So yeah, so the first step is to know, right? The first step is to simply set the intention to, throughout the day, check in with yourself. Now some people really get into the idea of setting a timer, throughout the day. And this is a great way to do it, right? You're just kind of taking these checkpoints, right? So like, set the timer for 10 a.m., 12 o'clock, 2 p.m., 4 p.m., right? And no matter what's going on, when the timer goes off, you just take a moment, you just realize like, okay, what am I doing right now? Am I who I want to be? Am I being the kind of compassionate person I want to be? Or am I being the friendly and helpful and expressive and contributing person that I want to be? Or whatever that thing is for you. That's mine, right? Those are the things that I want to be, right? So am I doing that? And you can check in. And the beautiful thing about setting timers is that you never know what's going to be happening in your life when those timers go off, right? You could be alone in your car and seeing like, am I showing up in my thoughts and my emotions? Or you could be in the middle of a meeting and am I showing up in my actions and my expressions in addition to my thoughts and my emotions, right? So doing that as a timed thing definitely works, but some people prefer to do it more like loosey-goosey and just kind of check in and try to notice when they're not showing up to themselves, right? Notice when you feel like you're doing something that, okay, what I just said there is not aligned with who I am, right? And just noticing that way. So you can play with that. You can do whatever way you want to do it, right? But now the key is, how do we repair it? How do we bring ourselves back to that authentic person, that authentic self that we want to be, whether it's as a parent, as a coworker, as a driver, as a shopper, as a spouse, as a waiter, as a whatever it is that we're doing. How do we show up as our authentic self doing that thing, right? And so it's a very simple process. You just simply, when you notice that you're not doing it, right? When you notice that, okay, I am not being as compassionate as I want to be right now. Okay, so now ask yourself, what is preventing me from being compassionate right now? What is it in me that's making me do the thing that is not the thing that I want to be, right? What is it? And when we ask ourselves that question, ordinarily those answers are pretty evident, right? Like, okay, I'm feeling, why am I not being compassionate? Because I'm still feeling anger about something that happened earlier. I'm still angry about how my spouse talked to me this morning about something. I'm still frustrated at how long it took to get my kids out of the house for school today. I'm still annoyed that there was no milk in the refrigerator this morning, even though I put it on the shopping list yesterday. These kind of things, right? And now you can ask yourself, and this is almost always going to be the answer, right? You ask yourself, is there something I should be letting go? Is there something that I should be accepting, right? And even before you ask those questions, maybe the key question, the first question to ask is, am I seeing this accurately and for what it really is? Or am I reading into it somehow, right, through my own delusory filters that are based on my emotions and based on my memories and based on everything else that I go through, right? So again, the question is, so notice, like, again, if you're setting the timer, 12 o'clock, timer goes off, you're standing in the supermarket, right, and you're in front of the cereal boxes, and you ask yourself, am I showing up today in a way that I would be proud of? Am I showing up the way that I want myself to show up? And if not, why? Right? What am I doing here? Am I, what is this thing that is preventing me from showing up the way that I'm showing up? Now, first of all, am I seeing this thing clearly? This thing that's in the way, right? Whether it's an argument I had or a disagreement or what have you. Am I seeing that clearly? Number two, is there something about this thing that I should be letting go? And number three, is there something that I need to be accepting? And I guarantee you that when you are not showing up as your authentic self, the answer to one or more of those three questions is going to be yes. And now it's simple. Now just do it, right? Just let it go, right? Just tell yourself, okay, I have this thought in my mind about this thing that was happening today, and like, again, like maybe it's the fact that there was no milk left in the refrigerator, even though I put it on the shopping list yesterday. My wife or my husband went to the store, or my friend, my boyfriend, whatever it is, went to the store, and they didn't get the milk that I put on the list, and so I have this thought going over and over and over in my mind. So let it go. Right? Just let it go. No matter how much anguish you're going to put into this fact that you don't have the milk, it's not going to go back in time and make this morning, where you had the milk that you wanted for your cereal or your coffee or whatever. Nothing's going to change. Right? The only thing that's going to change is your ability to show up in this present moment in the way that is aligned with your integrity. And when we are aligned with our integrity, that's when we get into a flow state, and that's when we can accomplish anything that we want to accomplish. That's when we can be the best parent we can be. That's when we can be the best coworker we can be, the best, whatever it is that we're doing. When we can be aligned with our integrity, that's when we can be the best that thing that we can possibly be. So I hope that makes sense to you, and I hope that this helps, because it's a very basic practice, and even just doing this right now. I know I talk a lot about doing, you know, meditation work and various other informal practices of mindfulness. Well, this is one of those practices, right? This is a way in which you can, just by checking in with this several times a day, what you're doing is you're automatically bringing yourself into the present moment, right? You're automatically paying attention to the present moment. And by being objective about it, right? By really looking at it and saying, like, what am I doing? Not like, you know, you're not inside of it anymore. Now you're outside of it. You're looking at it objectively. You're saying, okay, what is my body doing right now? And when you start asking yourself that question, that is non-judging awareness. So congratulations. Just by doing this practice, you are practicing mindfulness, and I'm so proud of you. So another variation, maybe a complementary practice to this one that you can do, is a practice of visualization, right? And visualization is really, really powerful, by the way. There's been examples of people who, you know, like the ability to just visualize yourself practicing things. And they've done studies with people playing basketball, people playing musical instruments, even people working out. Right? Like if you just visualize yourself going through, you know, those 20 curls with 20 pounds in your hand, right? If you do that in the right way, after 8 weeks, you will actually, they can measure your muscle having grown, right? People coming back after being shown one scale on a piano, right? Come back and told for 20 minutes a day, just visualize yourself, close your eyes and visualize yourself doing that scale. They come back a week later and they can play the scale perfectly, right? Or as perfectly as anybody else who did that for a week. Same thing with basketball. There was a study done, I think it was the University of Connecticut, where the basketball coach taught the basketball players, college level basketball players, how to do a specific kind of jump shot or foul shot, I think it was, right? And a specific, very specific movement that was done with this foul shot, right? Free throw. That's where you're just standing on the line, throwing the basket. Nobody's around you trying to block you or anything. You just have the free, you know, lane to the basket. And so a week later, you know, half the people were told to just visualize themselves doing it over and over and over again. The other half came to the gym and did it over and over again. The improvement was identical between the two groups after a week of people just visualizing doing it. Did it exactly as well as people who were who were doing it physically, right? And that's because, you know, as I say here a lot, your brain doesn't know the difference between actually doing something and thinking about doing something. And that's why visualization works. And so a way that you can visualize yourself, right, is that you can spend a few minutes, 5 minutes in the morning. It really works like even before you get out of bed, right? Just walk through everything you know about what's going to happen throughout the day, right? Like, you know, you're going to drive to work. You know, you have this meeting, that meeting, the other meeting. You know, you're going out to lunch with this person. You know, you're going to be taking the train home at, you know, approximately this time. You know that you're having this for dinner tonight. You know, those kind of things. Like, you know, there's a lot you don't know about your day, but there's a lot of things that you do know. So got to go through that checklist and just visualize yourself going through those things, right? And visualize yourself going through them in a way that is aligned with your integrity, right? Like really showing up for those things, really enjoying that dinner with your spouse, really relaxing on the train on the way home, right? Letting go of all the work stuff for that time, right? Because you know that there's nothing that's going to happen that's bad that if you just take that time and just, you know, turn the cell phone off and say, oh, I guess I was out of, you know, my phone died or whatever, you know. I think you get what I'm saying, you know, but really show up to those things that you have to do throughout the day and show up in a way that aligns with your integrity, right? And now, as you're going through those things, you're going to naturally check in with yourself because you already visualize yourself doing it. Now, of course, it's not going to work on the first day or the second day or the third day, but if you do this every morning for a few weeks, you're going to find yourself really being able to, you know, this is kind of what manifestation is all about, right? As you visualize yourself doing something, then it's like, you know, what we believe can possibly happen is based on what we have experienced in the past. Right? So if you are experiencing your day as you're lying down in bed still, and you're visualizing your day as really you crushing it and just doing everything exactly right, well then when those times come, you've already done those things correctly, right? So when that meeting comes up, you've already been through this and you already rocked it. You already absolutely crushed this meeting. So now you can just get up and do that again, right? It's actually something that Michael Phelps uses for his pre-race warm-up. So when he's, I think to put on that wetsuit that he actually takes like an hour to put that thing on. And the whole time that he's doing that, it's either like 45 minutes or an hour. And the whole time that he's doing that, what he's doing is he, and don't quote me on the time, it might be more, it might be less. But anyway, the whole time that he's doing that, what he's doing is he's visualizing the race. Right? So he's visualizing everything from stretching and loosening up on the starting block to getting in the position to, that few seconds before the starter gun goes off, and he's visualizing himself pushing off and jumping into the water, and how many strokes it takes him to get to the other side and going into his turn, how many strokes it takes coming back, how much time is going off as he's doing it. He's visualizing all these things in very minute detail. And so the point is his coach says, is that then when the guy actually fires that gun for the beginning of the race, Michael Phelps has already run that race several times, and he's already won several times. So now it's just a matter of going through those motions. And this is a guy who has how many gold medals, right? So this is how this stuff works, right? And so when we can combine these two aspects, right, of setting the visualization for how you want to show up in your world, right, in your life, right, and then check in periodically and see, okay, am I doing it? If you can do those two things, daily, every few times every week, for a few weeks, you're going to find yourself, aligning with your presence a lot, with your presence and your integrity a lot more, and you're going to wind up showing up for your life in every aspect. I hope you find that helpful, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you try that exercise. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe to the YouTube thing. It does help. And leave comments, really. The comments really help a lot. So if you have anything you'd like to say, even maybe like a smiley face down there in the comments, please do. And I'll reply to you, and we can have a little virtual conversation. But if you have any questions though, and you don't want to leave them down there, go to my website, artburnscoaching.com. There's all my contact ways to get in touch with me. You can either email me through there, or you can actually book a call through there, very simply. And it's a wonderful tool that's there for you. It doesn't cost anything. It's nice and easy. So please use it if you have any questions. All right, everybody. Thank you again for listening. Thank you again for watching. I wish you well. I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care.